Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the Masters of Product Marketing. We are going to have a whole host of product marketing maestros like Devang, who will be introduced in just a second. There's masters from stellar companies such as Oracle, Uber, and Amazon, to name but a few, and they're going to be sharing a whole host of specialist insights over the next 10 weeks. From now to the event's finale on September 30th, our ensemble of experts is set to discuss a wide selection of topics, from positioning to pricing to personas, and today's speaker is talking about product launches. Each presentation is scheduled to be added to PMM Fix Plus, our streaming platform. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or a more junior product marketer, we hope you enjoy the awesome presentations, starting with the one we have today. So Devang, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Max. Really excited to be here.
No worries. Just a little introduction for Devang. Devang is a former senior director of product marketing at Twilio, and he has over 15 years experience in product marketing and product management, and started it all as a store manager in a Levi's store. So Devang, thanks once again. Over to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Max. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'm so excited to talk through product launches. And just a little bit more on the introduction. So a couple of weeks ago, I joined a early stage startup called Snorkel AI. We've just come out of stealth, and I've joined to head their marketing team. But at the same time, I'm bringing you some stories from my time at Twilio, especially around product launches, and hopefully some of these examples can be things that you can apply wherever you are. So let me get started. How many of you have actually witnessed this, which is you connect with your product manager, or you connect with your executive or leader within the company, and they come to you and they say, we need to launch a new product next week or a new line of products next week. I know for one, this has happened for me several times, and it is in some sense part of the territory that comes with being a product marketing manager, right? And in this sense, what do? Oftentimes you start putting your plans together. Sometimes you have a discussion whether the timing is right, and sometimes you just have to flip the table because it's product launches are not just a checklist that you need to go through and get done. There's a lot that goes into product launches, and it's important for you to have a context about what does it take to do an excellent product launch, but it's also important for the rest of the organization to understand how to excel at doing product launches, what would be the value of doing an excellent job at product launches for the whole company. And this expectation is one that's important to have set up upfront and early, so that however you do the launch, it's done in a successful way. I see we have quite a few folks joining us from all around the world. We've got some folks from Brazil, from Berlin, Atlanta, London, and I'm hoping that more will join us in a minute too. But so let me continue on in terms of that. Not only are product launches important, it is important to set up the right expectations, especially when you have your leadership coming to you and asking that we need to do a product launch within a week. And oftentimes it also comes with expectations that not only do we need to do this product launch in a week, this product launch needs to be done in a way which is nothing less than Steve Jobs getting up on stage and announcing the iPhone. While that is the expectation, oftentimes the reality becomes that the product launch ends up being a web page being hosted and a tweet going out, which is probably retweeted by two people. One of them is your neighbor, maybe another one is a relative. And there's a bit of disappointment in how the product launch actually turned out. And this is more common than not, if you would believe, because at the end of the day, product launches are treated as something that just needs to be done rather than treating them as a strategic action from the marketing team. So today, through next few minutes, I would say my goal is to help you crush your product launches. And if this is even of a little bit of interest to you, stick around, pay attention, and I'm sure that you'll find something over here that you can put to use today, this week, this month, or for the rest of the year when it comes to product launches. What I'm going to end with is I'm going to give you a couple of practical tools that you can take in terms of planning for your product launches. And through the rest of the presentation, I'm also going to share some stories that I've experienced going through my product launches and probably walking you through some best practices, some do's, some don'ts as you're approaching product launches. So excellent. When you think about product launches, 1 week is certainly jarringly short. But if you ask yourself how soon should product launches start, they should definitely start earlier than a week, maybe earlier than a month, depending upon what type of launch you're trying to do. But my philosophy is that product launches need to start at inception. And when I say inception, it's the inception of the product itself. When that seed of the idea of the product is developed by the organization, by your company, by your product team, by your product managers, it's important to have a conversation right then and there as to, if we are thinking about taking this product to market, how are we going to introduce it? And it may seem a little premature at the time, even if you don't have complete alignment on the product, but at the same time, it's important to keep this topic on the table, because that ways folks around you in other teams will start gravitating towards planning for something of a launch alongside you when it becomes a reality. So when you think about inception, what are the stages at inception that a product marketing manager needs to work with the rest of the team? Typically when a product is incepted, you would have some sort of a product story or a product brief, maybe a design document. And then from there on, it's upon the product marketer and the product manager to start working on two parallel streams. One stream would be around market analysis as to, is this product or feature something that's going to give a differentiation for the company's message or the product's message? What type of customers would be really interested in trying a product like this? And then a thesis on positioning as to, as we are introducing this new product or feature, how is it going to stack up against what's existing in the market? At some point, your friends in product will be bringing back this idea whether this product is viable from an engineering and a development standpoint. And then on your end, you can contribute to this thesis that, is this product introduction viable from a market standpoint, and is it worthwhile for the company to put marketing dollars, to put marketing resources and efforts behind bringing this product to bear? If things go well, you as a team, you believe that there is legs to bringing this product to market, then you go through a phase where you start planning your alpha or beta or GA introduction, depends upon what your product maturity cycle is. And then you start thinking about, how are we going to slowly introduce this product to the market, even before you go out and do a big bang about, hey, here's the next best thing that the customers should use. So you start thinking about which customers, friendly customers, would be interested in trying this product out, and you start building up customer nominations and customer invitations for alpha or beta access. Typically, these customers would be someone who's expressed interest in having a feature or a product like this in the past, or if through your segmentation and market analysis, you've discovered a certain type of companies who have this particular need that you want to prove out and validate. I'd say we have a few other folks who've joined from other places around the world. So Bogota, San Francisco, Denver, Mumbai, New Jersey. Good to have you folks. We're just in the middle of how do you tackle product launches, and one way of tackling them is starting at inception of the product, that is. So from there on, you created this list of folks who you want to invite for an alpha or beta, and you start getting into this beta phase, which is around sitting with your customers, carrying out customer interviews, and start to document how are customers going to use this particular product? What are they finding valuable? And then what type of customers in terms of buyer and user profile are the ones that you should identify, segment, and target as you plan your Big Bang launch. In parallel, you'd want to continue carrying out some customer research or some market research, especially from a pricing standpoint, and then bringing this analysis back into the positioning thesis where it validates, checking it off, or where it validates, confirming that validation, and where it does not add up, checking it off and making sure that you've tightened your positioning. At this point, you might be ready for the GA launch, which could be a big event for the company. Now, the thing to note over here is there are some things that you would do directly as a product marketing manager or the leader of the product marketing team. There are some things that you would do in partnership with your product peers, and there are other things that you would do in partnership with your friends from the rest of the marketing team, whether it's folks who sit in growth, folks who are involved in customer marketing or competitive marketing. Oftentimes, the things that you see in blue boxes over here, different shades of blue, they can belong in the product marketing team. Depends upon the size of the organization, the size of the team. Fundamentally, these are a little bit different functions, but they can reside under product marketing. And if you are the only one focused on a product or focused on a business, it's most likely that you'll have to wear different hats within these functions and carry them out yourself. Right. So let's think about what goes into your Big Bang GA launch. And there's a whole ton of things that need to happen, all the way from starting to put together your launch based on the positioning and the analysis that you've done in the beta phase, starting to put together proposals around how are you going to price and introduce this product from a naming standpoint, what type of other organizational alignments that you need to do in terms of having a legal review on your go-to-market plans, especially naming. Product names are tricky or can be tricky often. How do you make sure that there is a good support structure when the product is released or launched? You want to make sure that if you are spending resources, dollars, and time in terms of carrying out this launch, it doesn't fall flat if there's no way for customers to access this product or for customers to get support if they ever get stuck using the product, especially in the initial days, because that's going to help you amplify your launch once it's live. Over time, you'll be spending a lot more time with a lot more energy with other folks around the marketing and the sales team, whether that's working on your web page or website, working with the product team on creating product documentation, working with your brand and your design team on creating assets, probably some kind of videos as well, possibly spending time with your corporate communications or comms team around a press release, around analyst briefings. From there on, jumping into working with your field marketing teams. These days, most of the events are done virtually, but once things open back up, you would want to think about whether this particular launch necessitates an event. Is this a first-party event that's hosted by your organization, or is this a third-party event where you're participating? And then from there on, getting your sales team ready. Depending upon most B2B organizations need a tight alignment between marketing and sales. And even for large B2C organizations that require a sales team, you'd want to make sure that the sales team is ready. They have demos available, or they have documentation, they have sales guides available, and making sure that they're trained on having this information ready. So you'd probably work with your sales enablement team. If you don't have one, this would be another hat that you as a product marketing manager or head of product marketing would wear. And then finally, working with your content team on making sure that as content is being written, it's written in a way to gravitate towards the key phrases that your launch is relevant for. So once you've gone through a lot of this launch planning and development, and you can guess if there's so much to be done. Certainly, this is not something that can be done in a week, but gauge based on your situation as to how long would it really take if all of these things had to be done, including the overhead of collaboration and coordination. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that all of these plans are packaged and communicated internally to keep everybody on board, and especially make sure that your leadership is on board with your plans, because the last thing you want to do is be at the eve of your launch and discover that there's some misalignment or the messaging needs to be refreshed. So it's really important to keep everybody on the same page, bring them along as you're building out. It will just help you prevent surprises and stress towards the end of the day. Great. So that's a lot, right? There's a lot that goes into a launch. The way I like to look at it is, as a product marketing manager, there's a lot on your shoulders, but in reality, a lot of your job is about being the cat herder, or in this case, I would say the lion tamer, where you're bringing all the different threads together, whether it's folks from product, whether it's folks from marketing, whether it's sales teams, and really creating a focal point, first starting within the company and then taking it out into the market to create the biggest possible amplification for your message. You might still be thinking that, wow, there is a whole lot of things to be done. I see one of my ex-colleagues who's joined the presentation as well. So it's great to see some familiar faces over here. Continuing on, so yes, as a product marketer, there is no two ways to think about that. There is, when it comes to launches, this is your domain fair and square, and for you to, it's upon you to make the most out of it and deliver a strong launch for your company. Now the question comes down to, if there's so much riding on your shoulders, how do you look at all these activities and say that what are the things that are really relevant for me to do? And that's where it comes down to right-sizing the launch. So when I say about right-sizing the launch, I think about it in 3 tiers. The first tier is what I coined as all guns blazing tier. This is applicable when you are introducing a major new product, or you're entering a new market, or you're creating a new category, or you're looking to change the perception of your brand. If you're looking to rebrand your organization, let's say you were known for a particular type of product, and over time your company has evolved into a different domain, and you want to start putting together a series of go-to-market activities around new direction. A launch could be a good way, a very strategic way to announce to the market that we've arrived and this is the new direction that we're headed in. So when it comes to all guns blazing tier of a launch, I would say most of these things apply. And again, a lot of these things, especially if it's a smaller organization, is on the shoulders of the product marketer. But as the organization around marketing team, around sales teams grows, few of these things can be spread out across different teams. And then there are few things over here that are clearly in other teams' hands, such as product development, as well as some of the work around growth and web development. So moving on from here, I wanted to give you an example of what would it look like if you were to do a all guns blazing launch. And I would say that from my experience, one of the things that we did back in 2018 was to introduce a new product for Twilio in a new category called Twilio Flex. So before 2018, Twilio's product line was made of APIs, and these APIs can be used for communications, whether you want to send and receive phone call, or whether you want to send and receive text messages, whether you want to make a phone call. And in 2018, and especially in 2017, we started working on building a product that was more of an application that took all the different APIs, packaged them together into an application that was unique in the way in which it was also very programmable. And we introduced this to the market in 2018. So as part of the introduction, we did quite a few of the activities that you saw on the board above. And some of these activities included us participating in a large event. We hosted our launch event at a industry trade show called Enterprise Connect, but we did it with a launch party. We had significant amount of presence. We made sure that event was coordinated along with our field marketing team. And then we did some traditional activities such as having of course, a web page for the product, but also taking over the company's homepage in terms of introducing this product, and working quite a bit with our press and analyst teams over months to make sure that when we introduced the product, it had good coverage. One of the key things that we focused on from marketing material standpoint was to create a promotional reel, and this was a 30-second video that gave a preview of what the product was, and that helped customers understand how it was, or prospective customers understand how it was different. So all in all, when we introduced this product back in March 2018, our goal was to have about 500 prospects write to us as interested in beta testing. And we were surprised when we had about 2,500 businesses write to us saying that they were interested in giving this beta product a try. Now, it's also important when you do product launches to have some goals and expectations. If you take my experience, I would say go a little bit on the conservative side. In case of Flex, certainly we were a bit more conservative, but at the end of the day, where we ended up with 2,500 beta requests, I think that was just the phenomenal response that we'd gotten from the market with all the activities that we'd done, and then also the need in the market too. So let's move on to the next tier. The next tier is what I call the megaphone tier. So in this case, you're introducing a minor new product, meaning it's not going to be a make or break for the company, but it is certainly going to be something that's going to drive additional revenue. Or it's a new revenue generating feature for your existing product. So oftentimes as products are built these days, especially software products, you build your base product and then you release advanced features. And oftentimes the base product might be free and the advanced features are the ones that you charge for, or you're opening up new cross-sell, upsell opportunities through new features. And another type of megaphone tiered launch would be if your customers have been asking for a particular feature for a long time or a particular product for a long time, then it's important to let the market know that you've built it out and it's ready to use. So that's another reason why you would want to take the megaphone tier approach to this type of a launch. Now, what does it take to do a megaphone tier type of launch? There are some things that you could table and focus on other things. In one way, this will give you back a little bit more time and resources, but it will also accelerate your time to go from inception to launch once the product is ready. So for this particularly, press activities, analyst activities can be put on the back burner. You can focus on sort of more web-based go-to-market over here. And events may not be necessary, although if there is an event that lines up with the timing of the launch, it could be something that you could consider as a venue to introducing a new feature or a new product. An example of this is the one that I did it with my colleagues from Twilio. And this one is particularly related to a product that was introduced in 2017. This product was called Studio, and what this helped our customers do is take our APIs and use a visual studio or a visual drag and drop tool to build out simple communication applications. So when you think about APIs, you need someone who can write code and string these APIs together into an application. With Studio, we were introducing a new way for our customers to use our product, which was to do it through a very simple GUI rather than having to write a lot of code. So we knew that this was quite significant in terms of asks from the market. And there were a couple of things that we focused on. One of the things was, of course, the main product web page. But then rather than emphasizing a lot on events and press activity, we spent a lot of time working on creating social campaigns. So creating things such as at launch, a challenge that would say, folks who are going to build some of these Studio applications or templates would be ones we could enter into a contest and give them some prizes. And from there on, we also focused on creating small tutorials that helped our prospects and our customers figure out how to use this product, and from there on, helping the adoption of this particular product. So that's what I would say would be a megaphone-sized launch. And then there's the last tier in my mind, which is the keep in the loop tier of a launch. And this is typically done when you have minor feature updates. You're delivering on small asks that a subset of your customer base has asked for, or you're delivering on bug fixes, especially bug fixes that could have a broad impact. So when you think about such a launch, you are clearly spending fewer calories. You do want to spend enough time upfront and making sure that there's alignment with product and expectations as to this particular launch is of this tier, and this is how it makes sense for this launch to be introduced into the market. And then from there on, focusing a lot more on direct communications with the customer, whether it's through your growth team or your demand generation team, or whether it's through your sales team, and making sure that the customer who needs this information gets this information. So an example of this particular type of launch would be when we introduced enhancement for our video API. So as I mentioned, Twilio has APIs, different APIs for communication, whether that is a phone call or a text message or even video calling. And we had made an update to our video API where it was available through a JavaScript SDK. And as it went into GA, we focused on a very, couple of different things that got the message across to our customers. One of them was a detailed blog that described why we had built this out and who would benefit from this particular feature. And then focusing on changelog, which is about technical details into how to put this product to use and benefit from having this particular release. So you might be thinking, that's pretty good. I have a pretty good roadmap. I have a way of prioritization. I understand organizationally how do I need to work across different teams. But what else would you need to crush product marketing or crush product launches? I would say one of the secret sauce of taking your launch from a launch to an excellent launch is about internal marketing. And this is one thing that I have learned through the years, especially working with my colleagues. Nupur, who's on the line right now, she and I and a few others had done this at Twilio quite successfully. And I would definitely say that this is one to focus on to give your launch that extra oomph. So how do you go about it? Do you remember the Studio launch that we talked about? Not only did we create excitement in the market through contests and through tutorial videos, but we did small things internally too. And these small things can go a long way where, at Twilio, we have this tradition of having a poster that everyone who's participated in this particular product development, you end up signing and you feel pride in taking this product to market and delivering it to the market through a launch. And then on the launch day, announcements, but also general excitement where you are sending a where you're giving some sort of swag within the company to raise awareness of this particular launch and bringing your team along. At the end of the day, a product launch is not just a product marketer's responsibility and ownership. It is a big thing for the company, and it's important that that comes across. As you can see over here, we had some tattoos. Luckily, they were only temporary, but nonetheless, it certainly got the message across. Another example of this, I mean, recently, as I've joined Snorkel AI, one of the things that we did in the very first week that I joined was that we took the company out of stealth and we introduced the company to the market. And as we did that, we're in this strange times where everybody's working from home. We couldn't do this celebration internally of the company being live and us introducing a new product. So what we did was we shipped small gift boxes to every employee around the world. We only have about 30 employees. We only have a handful of employees, so it wasn't a whole lot of effort. But what this gift box that had a little bit of branded goodies in there helped bring the team together and even experience the launch in teams that were not directly tied to the launch. For example, engineering, for example, solutions engineering, and others. So this is an important thing, and I would say certainly a secret sauce that you should tap into often. Now you're thinking, great, we've done quite a few things. We've set up the expectations, we've aligned at inception, we've carried through the activities that are appropriate and prioritized for this particular launch, and I'm going to call it mission complete. I would say not yet. There are a few more things that need to be done, which is that when you think about launches, you get to a point where the product is in the market and you're getting great reception, but that's not the end of the launch. In fact, launch needs to continue even after the launch event. And how does it continue? It continues with, number one, just understanding how did the launch do. So when you had set up expectations and metrics or goals about your launch upfront, doing analysis on those metrics, whether it's a week later, a month later, or a few months later, to figure out how has the market received this particular product? How has the press covered it, or how many customers have joined your beta list? How many customers have been onboarded? Is there a gap within onboarding the customers because you have spent so much energy personally and for the company for this particular launch? You don't want to you don't want to lose some of that momentum because of gaps in your onboarding or support pipelines. And then as you are engaging in these activities, connecting with customers and discovering, how did they receive this launch and how are they benefiting from this new product introduction? That will give you a good amount of fodder to go into and start building customer stories. And this can help you amplify your launches over an extended period of time. I would call it the rolling thunder method, which is a launch is not just an event, but a series of events. And once you've done your major one, you follow through with small activities that continue carrying the message forward. One of the most important things that you can learn from a launch is, what about your message really worked? And how do you go back into the market and say, what about this message do we need to come in and sharpen, so that as you spend more time into doing the launch, you can truly make the most out of it. So I would say one of the things that you would want to do for sharpening your message is carrying out a few customer research interviews and walking people through your launch materials. Oftentimes this is done by even a short 15-minute conversation on the phone with a prospective customer or with an actual customer, and just helping them decode for you what they experience when they go through your marketing material. So here's an example. In 2018, we introduced Flex through a message that was called, that we coined as a contact center that is infinitely flexible and instantly deployable. And initially, we saw that this particular message resonated quite a bit within the market. As we started working with our customers and having this conversation around messaging with them, we discovered that the real value of having an infinitely flexible and deployable platform was that a customer can take this contact center platform and really mold it to their particular customer, their particular business's needs. And not only is this value-based message, this is one that is also focused on the reality that the customers are experiencing and is a differentiator for our particular product. So we took this message and we refreshed the website in 2019 that particular focused on delivering this value. I see we have a couple of questions, and we have someone who's raised their hand. So Sean, you were asking, what are other ways of doing internal marketing that could be a great buy-in? These days, everything is done over Zoom. So having a Zoom party for launch would be great. The problem with the Zoom party can often be engagement. That yes, we all got together on Zoom. Now, how do we carry out a conversation that's fun, but still flows with the conversation? A really good tip that I discovered was that when you host a Zoom party, especially for launch, you can do a small quiz to walk through the memory lane. So you can, before the launch party, you can solicit your friends within the company, employees within the company to submit as they were going about building this particular product. What were sort of the challenges and victories and just memories that they have from the time of building this particular product. And one, this takes them down the path and celebrates the time that they've spent. But second, it can also bring the team much more closer together, and thereby giving you the opportunity to go back to the team and work with them even more closely when the next launch comes along. And within the party, putting some of these memories into some sort of slides, or turning them into a small quiz, and just entertaining people through questions would be a good way to create a camaraderie within the team. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, launch is a lot about the team rather than just about you as a product marketer. So another question from Bella. So Bella is asking, how has COVID affected from approaching product launches? COVID has been very interesting. When the last 4 months that I was at Twilio, certainly in one sense, COVID was impacting the business in terms of us all working remotely. But in other sense, particularly for Twilio, there was a lot of interest, because if everything is remote, people need to communicate with their customers, with their employees quite more. So in some sense, we were seeing a lot of interest, and that required us to accelerate our plans for new product introductions too. As far as product launches go, what different tactics are being employed? One of the major tactics I would say would be ramping up on content production. And second one is ramping up on virtual events. Now, both of these are pretty obvious, but at the same time, what's different about it is that when you are publishing content, what tone are you taking in that content publication? The reason why I talk about the tone is, there's a lot going on in the world today, including COVID, but also the general environment, especially in the United States, about the political environment and the impact of COVID on different communities. So taking into account that that's the macro situation, in some ways, you want to have that tone to match the environment that exists outside. You also want to be cautious as to timing your launch at the right time. So if there is a big celebration and introduction of a new product at this particular time, you would want to make sure that it's done in a way in which it doesn't come across as tone deaf, and that could also mean having a conversation whether the timing is right for a launch. And in terms of if you have decided that a product introduction is necessary at this time, then figuring out how to make that particular launch the most inclusive launch, especially virtually. And one of the things is that people only have so much time to spend on learning about new products. So when you host launch event, how do you make sure that you are doing it in bite-sized fashions? So rather than having a 3-hour keynote, can you have your events that are done in a shorter format, whether it's 15 minutes, bite-sized chunks, giving bits and pieces of information about the product, or spreading it out across multiple days so that people have the opportunity to engage. Bringing two different types of events together, whether it's a live event followed up by virtual recorded events. So a live event could be that you would actually require people to sign up and show up in person, but the recorded ones would be information that would go into the next level of depth, dribbled out over time. I see there are a few other comments over here, which are around Discord and games being a good way to engaging people. I love that idea. That's a great idea, Isabel. I haven't used Discord myself, but Slack is similar, and certainly keeping folks included in Slack would be a good way. Games, I love. I think there's a game called Diplomacy that I recently came across, and it's one that was invented, I would say, a century ago, but it's still possible to play this game today. This particular game called Diplomacy used to be played with letters. So you would form a team, and then you would send letters to each other to make your moves. But this game is now available online too. So you can play it as a team. I will warn you that it can sour relationships, given that the game is so competitive, but it's a fun one. Some other questions over here. What are the techniques to evaluate messaging resonance? I would say there are a couple of different ways. Just depends upon what your particular product is. For messaging, I look at it as a 3-step process. Step number 1 to develop the messaging is to collect internal bias. And I'm sure that you must have experienced this quite a bit, where folks within the organization, especially product management, has strong views on what their product is and what it does for the customer. And and to be fair, they need to have that point of view so that they can start developing the product with some intentionality. However, it is bias loaded, right? Part of it is vision, part of it is reality. And your job is to listen and take that bias, whether it's from the product development team, whether it's from the sales team, and collect that internal bias to form thesis. So that's, for me, is step number 1. Step number 2 is to actually take this thesis and go out to your most friendly customers, ones that are your champions, because those are the type of customers that you want all of your customers to be. You want all of your customers to be champions. So starting with them and trying to figure out from their point of view how they see value within the product. And once you go through this exercise, what you're doing is you're removing internal bias. So what will end up happening when you've done these first steps 1 and 2 is you'll be able to validate, what about our internally created message is a fact with the customer, and what are the things that customers are experiencing that you don't value or you haven't experienced internally that you should bring to bear in your message. When you do, you will find that your message will be a lot more sticky. And then once you've done these 2 steps, that's when is the time to introduce your own bias, which is what I would call differentiation. Because at this point, you've understood where you also understood through your customers where do competitors or their existing solutions sit, and this is how you can introduce to create bias. So if you're looking at my screen right now, I would take this particular example where on the right-hand side, you see 3 value propositions for Flex. You see a value proposition that says, take complete control, increase productivity for your sales agent, for your customer service agents, and let your IT teams or developer teams innovate faster. Now, initially, when we had created our thesis, we knew that value proposition number 2, which is increasing productivity and innovating faster, for developer teams was very clear. Another value proposition that we'd considered was being able to reduce costs and being able to bring efficiency into rolling new software tools out. And as we were doing customer interviews, we discovered that we were missing a major value proposition that we heard from our customers over and over again in interviews, which is that at the end of the day, because of the way that this product is built, it gives our customers complete control over taking this particular product and shaping it to their particular business's needs. And as you can see, that both of these two things are now represented in the top line message as well as in the value proposition. So that's just one example and a couple of practical things that could help you hone in on your message. There's another question over here. How do you handle sales teams wanting to talk about product prematurely, say in prospect cycles, to help close or defend something that the competition is doing? This is from Launa. Launa, this is a pretty tricky one, and this is one that is tied to organizational culture too. Some organizations are a little bit more roadmap forward, and for some type of products, it's necessary to be that way, especially if you think about an enterprise sales cycle. What you are trying to do, or especially what your sales team is trying to do, is they're trying to align customers' buying cycle or buying moment with the moment the product is going to be ready. And oftentimes when enterprises are buying software, they are buying into the company and into the team rather than buying just the software, right? Now, for SaaS, it's a little bit different. For if you're talking about true SaaS, you want to sign up for a product and you want the features that you need, and then over time you start building up a list of features that you would want in your vendor's roadmap. So especially on an enterprise side, I think it's a little bit more about being roadmap forward. And that's where I would encourage the sales teams to talk about the product in its roadmap form without committing to dates. For a SaaS type of product, meaning you're selling to organizations that are software native, you're selling to organizations that need software tools to actively deliver value from day one. In that case, I would say that staying with a shorter window on the roadmap and typically staying within a 3-month window rather than talking about what's going to come out next year is probably the best thing for sales teams to do. And that's where sales training becomes really important. So oftentimes sales teams will make up things to close deals, and the right way to correct that behavior would be to proactively give them information as to what is on the roadmap and what is not on the roadmap, and very specific instructions on what to talk about and what not to talk about. For the most part, I've seen my colleagues and my peers in sales be very receptive to this, but I've also seen them that when they don't have enough information, they find it hard to navigate through an account. And at the end of the day, if you walk in their shoes, they are on the line to deliver numbers, and as you can imagine, they will do what they need to do to get to those numbers. So for a simple rule of thumb would be that if you're doing enterprise sales, be a little bit more roadmap forward, and if you are more in a SaaS or immediate product use, then you would want to use a shorter window for roadmap. We could do a whole another presentation on messaging or roadmap altogether. Maybe that's what I'll do the next time around. Let me get through last few slides and then we can come back to the questions. So just recapping, 5 things that you want to remember. Number 1 is setting the right expectations. Your organization, especially your leadership, would have very specific intentions about why launches need to be done. And you being the expert and introducing products to the market, you need to help them understand the timing. You need to help them understand the scope. And in reality, you also need to help them understand why doing a launch or not doing a launch sometimes is the right thing to do. Second one is start thinking about launches at product inception, not just when product is ready to go out to market. Third one is around right sizing the launch. We talked about 3 tiers, the all guns blazing, where there's a whole lot of things to do and a lot of effort involved. The megaphone tier, which is a little bit more trimmed down version, and keep in the loop version, which is a lot more trimmed down. And then lastly, or a second to last here would be the secret sauce of investing in internal marketing. If you have some creative ideas here, I'm all ears as well. Please, as I give you my information, send me some of your recommendations, and it'll be a fun conversation to have. Last one is that launches don't end at launch. They do need to continue post-launch. And in fact, you should bake in some post-launch activities upfront in your launch plans. This way, you can communicate to the rest of the organization that it's not just one event, one date, one press release, one web launch, and you're done. It's a lot about a launch campaign. So with those 5 things, I wanted to leave you with few things. One is my contact. So I would love to get in touch with you if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions, recommendations as to how you do your launches, what you've learned that's worked for you. I'm available on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Gmail. I'm not very active on TikTok, so don't try to reach me over there. But if you are going to reach me on one of these forums, I could send you a product marketing launch burn down that I've built with help from some of my colleagues. And this kind of breaks down into different phases and different activities that I showed you on the board earlier. It also has a little calculator built in. So if you were to plug in a launch date, it can backtrack based on some benchmark time of how long a task would take. And certainly, it's configurable in the sense that if you put in a different start and finish date, depending upon your team and your resources, you could create your launch drill down differently. So that's pretty much it from my end. I can answer a few more questions over here. Yeah, so Francesca, you're asking what type of tool or format would you use to spread roadmap information? I have found it really useful to just use roadmaps, or just do roadmap updates in Google Slides and break it down by different product categories. So when I think about roadmap, you have one which is your portfolio roadmap. When are we introducing new products? But that's rarely the case. New product introductions could be, once every quarter, could be even less frequent than that, given that it takes a lot of calories. But when you think about product enhancements, there are numerous. And just in terms of how we are practically managing on my end, we have a Airtable tracker that tracks every single product release. And then as those releases come down the pike, we prioritize them into which tier they fall. And that helped me create a launch roadmap. But then I take that particular launch roadmap and I synthesize it into a few slides. And typically I synthesize them by tiers. So major releases, medium releases, and minor releases. And if you were to imagine this as 3 particular slides, this is what I take to my sales team, and I communicate with them at a pretty regular cadence. It was I've done it at a 2-week cliff when we had a whole lot of releases. I've also done it at a monthly cliff, which is probably a better cadence depending upon how frequently you are doing product updates. Yeah, Dominique, I think both of those are really good tools. I just find it much more easier for us to use Airtable. One, because it's easy enough for other people to get access, and it's kind of like Google Slides, where the learning curve on learning Airtable is not that high. What I find a little bit more limiting with road mapping software is it often has a learning curve, and then it has access related issues. If it doesn't get adoption on both product marketing end, then it becomes a little bit of a burden rather than a solve. Another good tool that I've used, or I would say recently started using, is Asana. And I would say Asana is sort of a next level version of what Airtable is. You have your list view that is pretty configurable, but then you can easily translate it into a timeline. You can easily translate it into a board view if you wanted to. I know Airtable has some of this too. The timeline feature is the one that I really like about Asana. It makes it takes your list in a spreadsheet into an actual roadmap that you can see on the calendar, which is what I enjoy about that. Well, great. Thank you, folks. Again, I really enjoyed carrying out this presentation. I hope you found value. I'm looking forward to seeing messages from you. And if I'm able to help you with this particular tool, I'm more than happy to do so.
Awesome. Thanks, Devang. Really great stuff. Thank you for everyone for tuning in and asking great questions. As Devang said, get in touch with him afterwards if you've got any more. And Devang, I hope to see you soon.
But thanks, Max.
Cheers. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.